6 ancient discoveries that resemble modern machines. We have convinced ourselves that human history is a path from savagery to progress. However, the Earth holds an unpleasant truth. Miners and archaeologists discover artifacts that destroy the official picture of the development of civilization. Complex computers, nuclear reactors, and model airplanes existed here long before our time, millions of years ago. These findings point to a frightening fact. We're not inventing anything new. We are only finding the remains of technologies used by those who lived on Earth before us. Perhaps it was these technologies that caused the demise of the planet's former inhabitants, leaving us only rusty relics in memory of them. In 1901, a grim story began. Greek divers collecting sea sponges were caught in a terrible and sudden storm off the island of Antikythera. Seeking shelter at a depth of 60 meters, they stumbled upon the grim graveyard of an ancient Roman ship. Among the scattered marble statues and gold coins lay a small object made of oxidized bronze, which forever changed our understanding of the ancient world. After cleaning the find of centuries-old lime deposits at the Athens Museum, scientists were amazed. Inside the shapeless stone, they discovered a complex mechanism consisting of many miniature gears. Named the Antikythera mechanism, this device is more than 2,000 years old. Its internal structure is astonishing in its exceptional complexity. It is a true analog mechanical computer. It consisted of 37 handcrafted bronze gears that rotated dozens of hands located on the front and rear panels. The Antikythera mechanism was capable of calculating the movements of the Sun, Moon, and 5 planets known at the time with remarkable accuracy. It took into account the elliptical orbits of celestial bodies, the phases of the Moon, and even leap years. However, the real horror lies not in the extensive astronomical knowledge of the ancient Greeks.
The horror lies in the very method of creating this device.
It was not until the 18th century that Europe officially mastered the production of such microscopic gears with differential transmission. The difference in technology is almost 2 millennia. The creation of such gear transmissions requires the use of advanced mathematics, and lasers or high-precision lathes with microscopic tolerances are necessary for metal processing. Manual processing with a file could not provide such a perfect fit of parts. So where did the Greeks get the drawings for this device? Why did they need such incredible precision to compile an ordinary calendar? Recent studies using modern X-ray tomography have made it possible to decipher the hidden inscriptions on the back panel of the device. They turned out to be similar to detailed operating instructions. Some scientists see them not just as an astronomical reference book, but as a countdown timer. In their opinion, the mechanism tracked cycles of global cataclysms, predicting moments of planetary parades and gravitational disturbances that could lead to the destruction of the Earth's crust and cause a flood. Perhaps a ship carrying such cargo did not simply crash during a storm. It could have been deliberately sunk to hide this dangerous knowledge at the bottom of the sea. After all, if the computer is still functioning, how much time is left before the next end of the world, indicated on its invisible dial? We hold in our hands the black box of a lost civilization, but we do not know how to decipher the language of its last warning. In the ancient Egyptian necropolis of Saqqara, we are transported back to 1936. It was then that the famous Egyptologist Walter Emery discovered the tomb of Prince Sabu, son of Pharaoh Ajib. The tomb was about 5,000 years old. Among the clay pots, stone knives, and jewelry typical of such burials, Emery discovered an object that stunned the scientific world for decades.
It was an unusual disc made of metasilicate with a diameter of 61 centimeters. Metasil is an incredibly fragile and layered stone consisting of quartz and mica. It is almost impossible to process it without it cracking. However, this disc has the shape of a perfect steering wheel or a modern propeller with 3 petals curved inward. In its center is a bushing for the axle. The petals are so thin that they let sunlight through. It would be impossible to create such an object with a primitive stone chisel or copper tool. Any wrong move would turn the workpiece into dust. It is obvious that high-speed machining on a lathe was used here. Official science, completely baffled, calls it an incense burner or a ritual lamp. However, engineers do not take this version seriously. The shape of the disc has ideal aerodynamics. When rotating on the axle, the blades will powerfully draw air towards the center. This resembles a part of a modern turbine, hydraulic pump, or flywheel. But what was this complex stone impeller doing in ancient Egypt, where even the wheel did not yet exist? In connection with the legends about the construction of the Great Pyramids, there is a mystical theory that priests possessed the forbidden technology of sound levitation. Ancient records claim that they used sound and vibration to lift multi-ton stone blocks. The Sabu disc may have been part of an acoustic generator. Its rotation at a certain frequency presumably created a resonance that altered the properties of matter in its vicinity and weakened gravity. Perhaps this is why it was buried with the prince. It was not a vase for flowers. It was part of an engine that allowed heavy stones to move like feathers. We are looking at a detail of a vimana, or ancient drone, and trying to imagine that aromatic oil was poured into it. In the Chinese desert province of Qinghai, on Mount Bailong, there is a cave that locals avoid, keeping a distance of several kilometers from it.
They call this place the ruins of aliens and believe it to be cursed. Mount Bailong itself is unusual. Its shape resembles a perfect pyramid about 60 meters high. However, the most frightening thing is inside. Researchers have discovered hundreds of rusty iron pipes piercing the rock of the mountain and extending to the bottom of the salty Lake Tsan, both inside and around the mountain.
The diameter of the pipes ranges from a thin needle to half a meter in diameter.
The most frightening discovery was made after chemical analysis in a Beijing geology laboratory. These pipes are 150,000 years old. At that time, humanity had not yet mastered the art of making fire and lived in damp caves. But even then, someone was building a complex engineering system here. The metal composition of the pipes includes 30% iron oxide, as well as significant amounts of silicon dioxide and calcium oxide. It has not been possible to determine the chemical composition of 8% of the material. This material has no analogs on Earth. In addition, many pipes are still radioactive. Skeptics have suggested that this phenomenon is explained by the fossilized roots of ancient trees. However, roots are not perfectly hollow and do not consist of pure iron. The shape of Mount Bailong resembles a huge ancient tower or a complex technological complex. The pipes leading into the lake look like part of a giant liquid cooling system for a powerful reactor, presumably located deep inside the mountain. Researchers emphasize the absence of any debris around the mountain that people usually leave behind. Who built this plant, dating back 15,000 years, and what did they use it for? Perhaps Mount Bailong is still functioning in sleep mode. Local residents often observe strange lights over the lake at night. Could it be that the ancient cooling system is still working, pumping water to cool what lies deep within the rock? We walk on the roof of the giant structure, unaware that the factories beneath our feet could start working again at any moment. The famous Gold Museum in Bogota, as well as other historical museums around the world, display gold figurines of the Quimbaya and Tolima cultures, which are over 1,000 years old.
Archaeologists classify them as zoomorphic figures, believing them to be stylized representations of birds, insects, or flying fish. However, any experienced pilot or aircraft designer who looks at these figurines will say otherwise. The birds depicted do not have a vertical keel on their tails, which is characteristic of birds in nature. The wings of insects are attached at the top, not at the bottom, as depicted in the figurines. These are miniature models that are accurate aerodynamic copies of jet fighters or space shuttles, such as the Space Shuttle. Their design includes a cockpit, a streamlined fuselage, triangular delta-shaped wings, and tail feathers with elevators. In 1996, German model aircraft builders Peter Belting and Konrad Lubbers created accurate, enlarged copies of these models. They equipped them with motors and radio control systems. The result amazed everyone who watched the experiment. The golden birds flew flawlessly. They masterfully planned and performed complex aerobatic maneuvers even with their engines turned off. Their aerodynamics were perfect, clearly designed for supersonic speeds. The Indians could not have invented such shapes simply by observing jungle birds. Such birds do not exist in the wild. Therefore, they must have seen such machines in the sky with their own eyes. This discovery casts doubt on the famous Nazca lines in neighboring Peru. The giant drawings and perfectly straight lines cutting through mountain peaks for miles resemble the runways of an ancient spaceport. Perhaps the ancient gods, who descended from the heavens in fire and thunder, were not a figment of the imagination. Maybe they were pilots. And the golden figures are a vivid example of the cargo cult. The Indians cast in gold what they worshipped: machines. If these machines existed 1,000 years ago, where could they have disappeared to? Could they still be watching us from distant orbit, waiting for the right moment to return? In 1936, in Texas, not far from the town of London, the Kahn family discovered a strange stone. A wooden handle protruded from a piece of limestone.
When the stone was split open, an iron hammer was found inside. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary 19th century tool. But geologists conducted a thorough analysis and determined the age of the limestone that had fused with the metal. It was at least 100 million years old. In the heart of the Cretaceous period, giant dinosaurs roamed the earth. Mammals no larger than rats hid in burrows. Humanity had not yet emerged in the evolutionary project. But at that time, someone lost a hammer there. Even more frightening was its chemical composition. The hammerhead consists of 97% pure iron, 2.5% chlorine, and 0.5% sulfur. Such pure iron does not occur in nature, and the technology for saturating iron with chlorine is completely unknown to modern science. The metal is completely free of carbon, which makes it incredibly strong and flexible at the same time. For more than half a century, the hammer has been hanging in the air after being extracted from the stone, and during this time, it has never rusted. There is not a single sign of corrosion on its surface. It is stainless steel, made using technology unknown to modern science, which surpasses our modern alloys. Official science, unable to explain this artifact, prefers to call it a hoax, ignoring the obvious facts. However, the stone has fused with the metal at the molecular level, which clearly indicates its incredible antiquity. If 100 million years ago a hammer fell into soft clay, it means that an intelligent being once roamed our planet in the company of tyrannosaurs. Was it a time traveler who made a fatal mistake and left a trace behind? Or is our civilization not the first on Earth? Perhaps millions of years ago,
Huge cities with smoking factories already existed here, and we live on their ruins without even suspecting it. The hammer remains the only silent witness to this forgotten era, and its silence is more frightening than any words.
The sixth and most frightening artifact on our list cannot be removed from circulation or dismissed as a fake. It is the Oklo uranium mine in the African country of Gabon. In 1972, French physicists analyzing uranium ore for their nuclear power plants discovered an anomaly. The content of the uranium-235 isotope in the ore was critically low. Usually, its concentration is the same everywhere. It seems that someone had already used this fuel and completely depleted it. New research has revealed something incredible. 2 billion years ago, a full-fledged nuclear power plant operated at this site. Scientists counted 16 reactors distributed across various areas of the uranium deposit. They operated steadily for 500,000 years. To explain this phenomenon, official science, in a panic, introduced the term natural nuclear reactor. According to their version, uranium accumulated in one place, and groundwater accidentally initiated a chain reaction, simultaneously serving as a moderator. However, nuclear physicists do not believe this version. To start a controlled reaction, you need perfectly clean conditions, graphite moderators, and a super complex geometry of the active zone. Nature doesn't just randomly create nuclear power plants. Even weirder is how the waste was stored. Radioactive elements didn't get into the environment and didn't harm the planet. They were placed in special pockets of rock using vitrification technology, which we have only recently developed. Traces of xenon and neodymium have also been found in the ore, confirming the process of nuclear fission. Who could have built a nuclear reactor 2 billion years ago? At that time, according to our understanding, only the simplest bacteria inhabited the Earth. Or maybe we are wrong. The power of the reactor was enormous, hundreds of kilowatts. Why was such powerful energy needed on a virtually uninhabited planet? This place makes us think that we know absolutely nothing about the history of our planet. Perhaps we are just another unsuccessful experiment of the universe in creating intelligence. Those who came before us reached levels of development that we could not even dream of, but then disappeared without a trace. Only burnt uranium remains in the African mine, a reminder that even the divine is not eternal. Although we have already discussed 6 key discoveries that cast doubt on official science, we cannot fail to mention one more finding. It serves as compelling evidence that our ancestors possessed knowledge beyond our imagination. In 1936, Austrian archaeologist Wilhelm König, during excavations in the basement of the National Museum of Iraq, located near Baghdad, in the ruins of a Parthian settlement, discovered an unusual clay vessel. The vessel was carefully sealed with bitumen. Upon opening it, scientists found a copper cylinder inside and an iron rod in its cavity. The design was such that there was no direct contact between the metal. Any physics teacher would be familiar with this device. It was the simplest galvanic cell, a battery. When filled with acid or electrolyte, such as grape vinegar or lemon juice, the device began to generate an electric current with a voltage of about 1.5 volts. The find was more than 2,000 years old. This proved that electricity had been discovered 18 centuries before Alessandro Volta and Luigi Galvani. Official scientific circles claim that the vessels were used to store scrolls, but no papyrus was found inside. Instead, traces of corrosion characteristic of an acidic environment were found. Later, archaeologists found other similar vessels. By connecting them in series,
it is possible to obtain a voltage sufficient to solve complex problems. What was the reason why the ancient inhabitants of Mesopotamia needed electricity? There is a suggestion that priests used these batteries for galvanic gilding of statues and jewelry. However, there is a more disturbing version. The walls of Egyptian temples in Dendera depict huge lamps with snakes writhing inside them. Researchers studying UFO phenomena believe this is a depiction of electric incandescent lamps. Perhaps the Baghdad batteries served as a power source for lighting inside pyramids and tombs, where there are no traces of soot from torches. We tend to imagine the ancient world as a dark time, but perhaps they lit their cities with electricity, the knowledge of which has been lost for centuries? Who taught them to extract energy from clay and bitumen to create generators? As a final bonus, we will look at an artifact that goes beyond our list of ancient technologies. Its uniqueness is so great that it deserves a separate category. Near the town of Klerksdorp in South Africa, miners have been finding strange metal balls in mines for decades, which fall out of a layer of pyrophyllite. The diameter of these balls varies from 1 to 10 centimeters.
On the surface of some of them, 3 perfect parallel grooves are clearly visible around the equator. At first, it was thought that these were ordinary concretions or natural formations. However, geologists then decided to investigate this mysterious phenomenon. The age of the rock layer where these spheres were found is 3 billion years. Try to imagine that number. 3 billion years ago, there were not even dinosaurs on Earth. Life was limited to primitive algae and bacteria, and yet, someone made these spheres with incredible precision, as if with the help of a machine. The metal of the spheres is an alloy of nickel and steel, which does not occur naturally in this form. The shell of some of the spheres is so strong that it cannot be scratched even with a steel tool. At the Klerksdorp Museum, employees discovered the most mystical property of these spheres. Placing the spheres under glass in a display case, they noticed that they began to rotate spontaneously around their axis, completing a full rotation in 128 days. It seems as if they have a life of their own. Scientists from NASA took an interest in the discovery and found that the spheres have perfect balance. Weightlessness is necessary to achieve such balance. It is practically impossible to create such a perfect sphere on Earth. There is a crazy theory that these spheres are a kind of seed of life. It is believed that some higher civilizations scattered them across the young planet 3 billion years ago to initiate or control the process of evolution. Perhaps they are carriers of information, hard drives of eternity that have survived continental shifts and the emergence of oceans. We possess them, but we do not have a device capable of reading the message recorded on them. They rest in the museum, slowly rotating, waiting for the moment when their creators come for their work. We have analyzed 6 main and 2 additional artifacts, although there are thousands of them. Each of them is like a nail in the coffin of official history. The most striking evidence is the Antikythera mechanism, the Sabu disc, the Bailong pipes, the golden airplanes, the London hammer, and the Oklo reactor. The Baghdad battery and the Klerksdorp spheres provide further confirmation that our knowledge of the past is very limited. These are not just random geological finds. They are technological debris left behind by our great ancestors. We treat these finds like children who've discovered a loaded gun in a sandbox. Not knowing their true purpose, we sense an ancient danger emanating from them. These artifacts remind us of one thing: civilizations are mortal. They can collapse in an instant, leaving behind only rusting pipes and mysterious stones. And as we look at these remnants, we feel real anxiety about the fate of our future. What will remain of us in 1 million years? A plastic bottle and a smelly concrete sarcophagus. Or maybe nothing at all. Time erases everything, and our turn for eternal oblivion is just around the corner.